Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is having a good week. All right. And to everyone watching on YouTube, welcome to our weekly office hours. Some general housekeeping stuff as we get started. I always like to go over where you can find some of our support options as well as our latest updates. So if you're inside of the Stammer application, you can click on the support tab right here, and this will bring you to a tab that shows you all of our different support options, including links to this meeting, links to our daily support meetings, and links to our roadmap and changelog, which can also be found up here. This is going to give you all the information about every latest release that we do and all of the updates that we make to the platform. We did one a little bit late last week or in the middle of last week that added a couple minor improvements to the platform, as well as some updates to different sections for the UI. So we'll go over those today. And then, of course, we're still doing our deployments for voice. So getting all of that out and getting feedback from customers has been great. So first things first, we have a updated agency and white label dashboard. So all of the functionality is the exact same, but we just reorganized it a little bit better. So under agency, there's now one tab called white label, and this will have all of your dashboard settings, connecting your custom domain, custom styling your dashboard, integrating your Stripe, and setting up your account notifications. So all of these features were already available, but they were just kind of spread out among a bunch of different areas. But so now everything is located into this one tab under white label. So that should be a lot easier for everyone that is getting started as well to make sure that you get all the right settings and everything set up, the way that you want. Next up, we've got some more quality of life things. There's been a lot of updates on this regarding organization and filtering, and this is one of those updates with filtering. So now you can filter your sub accounts by their current status, whether that is they're a current customer, they are a directly billed customer, which means they are bypassing the native billing there for agencies, or if they're an expired sub account as well. So this makes it a little bit easier for you to figure out who is doing different things and what type of accounts everyone actually is. Some quick updates in the knowledge base. There's a new save option. So all the functionality here is the exact same, but now you can simply save your settings. That way there's no miscommunication or misunderstandings about how to get those settings enabled. We've had a couple customers ask about changing the currency. So there's some information here as well as inside of the dashboard if you want to change your currency. We're constantly updating different pages into React to help them load faster and become more dynamic as well. Some updates to the UI of the template prompts and some more clarification around the VAT for anybody that's in Europe. So if you go into your SaaS configurator, there is an option there that you can enable for different subscriptions. And this will add the VAT tax to your customers. So your customers will then have the ability to pay that VAT tax. In the United States, we don't have any of that. So we're still becoming clear on how all of that works at all the different levels, but this is now live and available to everyone. Some other very simple changes, nothing really that changes the core functionality of the application, but again, just good general updates from our public roadmap. And if you are wanting to add something to our public roadmap, this is available for everyone publicly. So you can go in there and add any items that you'd like to see us build or change on the platform. So that's always useful to see. So a couple other UI updates and fixes here as well. Won't go into too much depth there, but if you want to read through everything, of course, you can go to roadmap.stammer.ai and then be able to check everything out. So that's all the main live updates from everything this week or from last week. We will have another update coming out in a little bit, but of course we'll send out a notification and let everyone know about how any core functionality changes are being made. So that way everyone is aware of how all that works. There's a couple other honorable mentions that we're working on before we can talk about some voice things, or we can go into some general Q&A. Some of the updates with the most recent models, we've been constantly testing this. So if you're going into your agents and you're looking at which AI model to use, so something like, let's see. So for example, something like ChatGPT 5 or some of these other models, you might have noticed if you're trying to use GPT-5, there might be some strange responses that you're getting. And that's because OpenAI has kind of fundamentally changed the way that GPT-5 operates within the API. And it's kind of annoying because they didn't really make it super obvious to us initially. So for certain things like, excuse me, the temperature is no longer a variable that you can update. Whereas in these other models, you have the ability to change the temperature to whatever it is that you'd like. With GPT-5, it's kind of static, or they don't allow us to pass a value for that model. And so what we've in our testing and from feedback that we've gotten from other users is GPT-5 is trying to figure out which internal model to use when it receives an API call, whether it's the generalized response model or the thinking model or the the other one, the research one, I believe. So essentially what we've been seeing is we've been getting feedback from customers about how GPT-5 is like giving weird responses. And our we have continuously recommended that GPT-4o is the one that we are constantly using and still using with our own agents. So if you're finding weird responses with GPT-5, we would still recommend that you use one of the 4.0 or the 4.1 models, as they are a little bit more battle tested, so to speak, and are able to give more responses that are generally more acceptable for the use cases that we are all trying to build and sell. So basically, customer support responses and things like that, where generating a response that sounds like it's human or more human-esque, that is very key. So if just to summarize that point real quick, if you're using 5 and you're not liking the responses, our recommendation is to go back and use one of the 4.0 or the 4.1 models, and then everything should work totally fine. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. We're also looking into adding Gemini as another alternative model as well, which would be good. So a couple different updates there. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We did have, I'll end on this. So we did get some questions about the marketplace, since we've added a bunch of agents to the marketplace here. So if you or your clients like any of these default agents, you can clone these into your account, and then they will become available inside of your dashboard. And you can either customize them or update them however you see fit. And then if you want to then re-offer those agents back to other sub accounts or other people inside of your white labeled marketplace, all you have to do is go into any of these agents, and in the right hand column here, there's this option called Launch Agent to Marketplace. If you click this, it'll bring you to Marketplace, where you can then set up the title, description, categories. If you want a new category, you can just type in a category and it says create this new category. You can also make these free or paid. If they are a paid agent, then the amount that you charge for this will then be deducted from the sub account's wallet. And of course, if that sub account wallet goes to zero, they'll get recharged and that will come into your Stripe account as new revenue. So all of this is has been live for a little bit, but there's some questions and confusion about that the other day. So just wanted to reiterate that. So Drew, anything you want to mention or add today?
Only one comment for the marketplace. If there are any agents that you don't see, any different industries or use cases that you'd like to see, let us know. That way we can get it created and add it in here for you. But
Yeah,
yeah, other than that, that's it.
sweet. Yeah, and a lot of people are finding success with these agents, so we definitely want to add more as people ask about them. Richard asks, in setting up an agent, exactly what does enable streaming option do? So that is more of like a that is kind of like an older option that is there. So if you're if you have streaming enabled, essentially what's going to happen is when the response comes in, it will come in letter by letter or word by word. So it's very similar to how ChatGPT will show responses to you. If streaming is disabled, the agent will wait until the full message has been generated and then it will send it all in one chunk. So if you think of it like a text message that comes in, the entire message shows up all at once. So streaming is letter by letter, and then not streaming is full chunk messages is showing up immediately. Yeah, and that's down here. Some other ones that you might have questions off on. So showing data sources, when an AI agent responds, it will basically find where that information came from in the knowledge base, and then it'll link the it'll put a link in the chat widget for that information. So that's super useful for things like big websites that have a lot of data and an answer comes from a certain website URL. It'll show where it got that answer from that specific URL, and then you can click it, and that URL will then open up in a new tab. One of the good examples of that we've liked to mention in the past is um, we were talking with an agency who had a client, and the client was saying, oh, the agent is not giving good responses. And the agency was like, oh, well, how did we train the agent for this? And the client said, oh, we scraped our website. So we collectively went into that agent and we looked at the information that the agent was trained on and all of the website URLs. And we enabled this option called showing data sources. And we also enabled this other option called debug mode. Debug mode is a way for you to see where information is coming from, but also what information is being sent to the AI model to generate the response. And this debug mode is only going to be available and shown inside of this testing dashboard here. And it's really useful to figure out any issues. Like, for example, if a client is like, hey, it's not giving me good responses, you can enable the debug mode and then be able to quickly figure out what the issue was. And in this story, an example, the issue was the fact that the website had old incorrect information on a blog post from 10 years ago. And that information was being fed into the agent. And because that is the information that the agent had access to, that is the information that it would spit back when asked about a specific question in relation to that information. And so the agency was then able to go to the client and say, hey, it's not actually, the agent is only responding with information that it has access to. It's actually being fed the wrong information. So we can either get rid of that website URL, or we can go into the website and update that information for you. which allowed this agency to kind of upsell that into another offer of, hey, we're going to go through all of your content and make sure everything is updated. And the only way the business was able to figure that out is because the agent was showing where exactly that URL came from using the showing data sources option. So it can be quite useful for things like that with use cases that we never kind of intended to be useful, but it does have good results for that type of use case as well. Any other comments, questions, concerns today? Great to see you as well, Lucas. Hope everything's going good on your end. All is good. Pop over after the Apple event. Yep, I know that they're releasing the new iPhones right now, so I'll have to go watch the recaps. I'm sure that everybody and their brother will be making shortly. Yeah, I'm on the 13, so I think it's about time for me to upgrade, especially with making content. Having those new cameras is always nice. Cool. All right. Well, if there's not any other questions today, I think that will do it for today and wrap it up for this week. Of course, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to email us, submit support tickets, join our support calls, join our Discord. There's lots of different options for you. We are trying to be here and as helpful and supportive as possible. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone and have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care.